All right, I got going on a rabbit hole today. It was not super rewarding, not super satisfying, a little depressing, but it was enlightening. I'll say that. I did a lot of statistical analysis of LSU's offense. If you're looking for the film, Jake and Flynn do an awesome job on the morning show, and they've got a great piece up on LouisianaSports.net called The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, breaking down the film. This is the other aspect of this. It's the stats. And ultimately, like when you're looking at an offense statistically, what you're looking for is points. I think to be perfectly correct, you're looking to win games. The point of the game is actually to win it. So if you can win it 3-0, okay. But points is the best indicator of an offense, right? Very few times where you're not trying to score points. It happens where you're being conservative, you're leaning on your defense, you've got a lead, and you win a game. But points is the most important thing. And right now, you're looking at a team that is 86th in the country in scoring offense and 89th in the country in total offense. You're looking at a team that is one of two Power 4 programs that has not scored 25-plus points against another Power 4 program, North Carolina being the other, and that is a complete and total soap opera in Chapel Hill right now. In total offense and scoring offense, LSU ranks 12th in the SEC. It's not good, big picture. It's all bad. But what are the underlying roots of these shortcomings? Where is LSU coming up the shortest? And I've boiled it down to 4 or 5 different things that are particularly alarming. The red zone has been awful. Your touchdown percentage is 56%. That is 101st in the country. Why are you not able to get down there and score touchdowns? Well, there are a number of reasons, but I would suggest chief among them is your inability to run the football in the red zone. And I knew this was bad. I did not know it was this bad. There are 136 teams in the FBS subdivision. 136. There are exactly 3 teams that run the ball worse than LSU in the red zone. Kent State, Missouri State, and UMass. That's it. UMass is 0-7. And Kent State played some SEC team recently, and I called them the worst team in the country. I think it was Oklahoma. But LSU is 133rd in the country in rushing the football in the red zone. 133rd. They average 1.13 yards per carry when you get inside the 20. When the field shrinks and you've got to fight for every inch down there around the end zone, you are essentially the worst team in the country. Not literally, but pretty close. And when you compare the talent that you have with Kent State, Missouri State, and UMass, I'd guess you compare pretty favorably to those teams, you're the worst. And you look back at an opportunity down there at the end zone, at the end of the game, against Louisiana Tech, 1st and goal, inside the 2, can't score. You look at the end of the game against South Carolina. You get a big catch down to the 1-yard line from Trey Green. You cannot get the ball in the end zone from the 1-yard line. You look at the game against Vanderbilt, and you couldn't run it in. Now, you scheme something up and got a touchdown, but Donovan Green committed a penalty. But you couldn't run it in. 133rd in the country in red zone rushing. Inconceivable to me that that could be possible. Another area that LSU has been very, very poor. Slow starts. Your opening drives have been absolutely anemic. I'll go through them in order. Clemson, you got a couple of first downs. You gained 36 yards. Now, 25 of those yards were a handoff to Caden Durham where he got hit in the backfield, spun out, and ran 25 yards. Good play by a talented guy, but that's more than half the yards on that drive. You punted. Louisiana Tech, you got a first down, then you threw a pick. Florida, 6 yards, 3 and out. Southeastern, 5 yards, 3 and out. Ole Miss, 4 yards, 3 and out. South Carolina, 5 yards, 3 and out. And then Vanderbilt, you drove down and got a field goal. Those were the first 3 points you've scored on an opening drive all year. That's supposed to be the point where you've got a script, you've got the plays that you like, the calls that you like. You get into the game and you start moving the football. You went 3 and out against Florida, Southeastern Ole Miss, and South Carolina 4 weeks in a row. You got better this week against Vanderbilt. You got 44 yards, got 3 first downs, got a field goal, but not great to start games. And the 3 and outs got me thinking about that, 3 and out. And I was just curious if LSU is doing that a little bit more. And I'll be candid with you, the listener, and I would imagine a lot of you are in the boat as me. I wasn't even sure what a good 3 and out percentage is. Like, how often should you be going 3 and out? I didn't know. I knew just by looking at the data from this team that LSU has gone 3 and out on 23% of its drives. I didn't really know if that was like an outlier, if that was pretty standard, if that was bad, if it was okay. Like, I wasn't sure. But LSU's gone 3 and out 17 times in 75 drives this year, and that's 23%. So then my question is, okay, what had they been doing? Well, last year, you went 3 and out 12% of your time with Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback, Joe Sloan at offensive coordinator. You went out 3 and out 12% of the time. The year before that, the elite offense, Jaden Daniels, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, high flying, 11% of the time you went 3 and out. The year before that, Brian Kelly's first year with Jaden Daniels, 12%. So in 3 consecutive years of the first 3 years of Brian Kelly's time, Jaden Daniels, Garrett Nussmeier, whatever, you were 12%, 11%, 12%. You're at 23% this year. You're almost double the 3 and out percentages. And then you look at, in 2021, Ed Ogeron's last team that had Max Johnson at quarterback, that team went 3 and out 22% of the time. And it was a team that got a coaching staff fired. So you're doubling the output of 3 and outs at this point. And that's part of the reason why of the 122 teams in college football that have played at least 7 games, 122, you're 97th in the amount of plays that you run. Because you're not a tempo team. You're going 3 and out more than you usually do. And if you are running this few plays, you're putting your defense in a bad spot. And you did that in Oxford. And to an extent, you did that at Vanderbilt, even though I put a lot of the blame on the defense for Vanderbilt. But you're just not as good at sustaining drives. You're not as good on third down. Last year, LSU was elite on third down. Last year, LSU finished 6th in the country and led the SEC on third down at 49%. You've got the same quarterback, probably better wide receivers, and right now you're at 42%. That's 54th in the country and 10th in the SEC. You were the best. Now you're 10th. Not sustaining drives, not running enough plays. Then when you get in the red zone, not able to run the ball, not able to get touchdowns. So if you are not running a lot of plays and you get into the red zone and you stall and you can't run the ball down there and you're not great on third down, well, at that point, like, your best chance to create points is to be explosive, to not have to count on red zone, to not have to count on third down, to hit those big plays. Were you doing that? I'll let you guess. 10-plus yard runs. LSU's 121st in the country. There are only 136 teams. You're 121st. 20-yard passes. 98th. Now, look, I get it. Your quarterback was hurt. That really, really limits your ability to get the ball down the field. And I'm not going to blame play calling for some of that, because when Berrien Brown beats Louisiana Tech by 5 yards on the first drive and your quarterback misses by 15 yards, it's because he's hurt. And when Chris Hilton runs right by everybody in Oxford and your quarterback comes up 10 yards short, well, he's banged up. And then when Chris Hilton gets deep behind South Carolina and Nussmeier is healthy enough to make the throw, and then Chris Hilton drops it, like, everybody's at blame here. I'm not pointing the blame immediately at Brian Kelly. I'm not putting it immediately at Joe Sloan. I'm not putting it immediately at Garrett Nussmeier. I'm not pinning everything on injuries or the why. Like, everybody's at fault here. But there is nothing that I'm looking at here that is positive on this offense. And that's stunning, because you've got a quarterback that threw for 4,000 yards last year. And for the faults that Garrett Nussmeier has, he's not super fast. He does make some questionable decisions. The ball does get turned over. I'm not absolving Garrett Nussmeier of everything, but to suggest that every quarterback could just show up and throw for 4,000 yards in the SEC is incorrect. He's a capable passer. Caden Durham's a capable running back. Harlan Berry's got talent. Aaron Anderson was third in the SEC in catches last year. Barryon Brown is 10th all-time in Kentucky receiving history. Xavion Thomas has been making plays in the Southeastern Conference for 4 years. Nick Anderson set records at Oklahoma. Now, I don't have a ton up front to give you that's positive on that front. You don't have a lot of proven dudes there. You got a center from Virginia Tech who's played well. You got a right guard from Northwestern that's played okay, and not a lot else to write home about. And that's a big part of this too. But you've got weapons, and you've got the ability to have some sort of identity that produces on this team. And for me to continue to rattle off statistics that are 91st and 122nd and 133rd is just absurd to me. And I don't know if there is a way to make it better. Like, I could try to paint you a rosy picture. I thought they moved the ball against South Carolina and then didn't do as much as they should have in the red zone. Of their first 6 drives against Vanderbilt, they did move into point-scoring territory a lot. But the fact of the matter is that you're never scoring 25 points. And if I can say if you did this and if you did that, but it's every single week, well, you kind of are what you are. And it's not very good. I still contend, to wrap this segment up, I contend that LSU will have a game where it clicks. I think they will have a game where they go score 35 points because of all the reasons I laid out. There are some good players on this offense. But ultimately, when you talk about the 9 games that matter, Clemson and the 8 league games, you're going to have an offense that probably underperforms in 6, 7 of those, or 8 of those, and it's going to cost you 3 or 4 games. This just is what it is, and that's where you are right now. But some of these statistics that I was digging up today just absolutely blew my mind. That a team with that much talent, with that much expectation, could be mentioned in the same breath as Kent State, Missouri State, and UMass. Like, that is mind-blowing. And that's what you've got right now. You got an offense that, by just about every statistical measure, is underperforming. I'm not giving an opinion. These are the stats. They're facts. They're raw numbers and data. It is what it is. LSU's in the 80s in total offense and scoring offense. You cannot compete for a championship playing like that. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.